Okay, and welcome back. Todd, tell us, what are some of the law enforcement concerns with Obamacare?
Well, the new health care reform, commonly
Okay.
known as Obamacare, and you've probably heard about this. It's been in the news. Federally, they're spending $54 million advertising for these navigators or assisters, and these are people who are going to be hired, thousands, probably tens of thousands of these people that are going to be hired. They'll be calling up individuals and businesses, and they're going to hook them into an insurance program. And it may be the federal program, it may be another provider. Okay, we're talking about those individuals, those navigators, those assisters in the state of California. When they start calling, what kinds of questions can you be expected to have to answer?
Before we get to the questions, what kind of, how do you qualify to be a navigator?
You're hired. Pretty much, you got a desk, you got a pulse, and a phone. At this point, and that's the problem. Law enforcement says that this is a situation ripe with fraud, potential fraud, and if you take the way that we've addressed that in the state of California through the Department of Insurance, we do background checks. We ask for fingerprints. We have certification programs where there's a minimum competency requirement.
That work for insurance companies, that
We're talking,
write policies.
Well, they're in the insurance business. They're not necessarily working for companies. They are basically brokers trying to get individuals into certain programs. It could even be the federal program. We are concerned that those people need to be law-abiding citizens. They need to have a minimum threshold of competency, that there needs to be monitoring by the agency, which is called Covered California. That's who's going to be handling this. That Covered California monitors what they're doing, and that if they note violations of the law, that they are partners with law enforcement and turn those folks over so they can be investigated and, if necessary, prosecuted for their criminal activity. It doesn't take much of an imagination to think about how this could be used by people who have not the best intentions.
So I guess we're talking about the navigators. I think we said that the people that were currently working or whatever did go through some hoops and bars.
Not to the threshold that law enforcement deems to be necessary for public safety.
I guess once again, I just wanted to make it clear.
They're just hiring them.
Right, so that's the navigators. But what we used to have, and I think maybe we still have because you can get some private insurance if you don't go to the exchange, I guess. That group had to go through hurdles, jump over hurdles, right?
I can't.
Okay.
I can't talk about the way it was.
Okay.
I can talk about the way that it is.
So let's just go to there. All right.
And I know
I think from what I heard, and you can take it off from there. It's like I have heard people saying, well, if a navigator calls or I call a navigator, and they're going to start me down the road to getting qualified or whatever it is. When I go through that, they're going to start asking my name, my social security number, my
credit card information, perhaps.
Okay.
We are also trying to get out what kinds of questions are legitimate questions that a navigator who's doing their business can and should ask somebody that they're trying to get hooked up into an insurance program. Is it proper for them to be asking for your social security number? Probably. What about credit card information? What about bank account information? What about how much is in your account? What about these kinds of things? What are legitimate questions? What are illegitimate questions? I think the public needs to know that so they can protect themselves from potential fraudulent situations. Also, we need to be doing background checks. Covered California needs to be doing background checks for these navigators to make sure that they aren't felons, to make sure that even if they're not felons, that they haven't committed a pattern of criminal activity, maybe misdemeanors, maybe insurance fraud, maybe theft, things that go towards moral turpitude, theft-related offenses. And they need to monitor these folks and have some competency threshold through certification to make sure that the people that they're putting out there are to the extent that they're capable of are not putting such a strain on public safety. We don't have those assurances yet. I know Commissioner David Jones is working on that, and he's been working with Covered California to address these concerns. We're looking at a model similar to what the California Department of Insurance has had, and I think we do a pretty good job in California at ferreting out fraud to the extent that we can. And they need to do the same thing with the new healthcare reform laws to make sure that folks aren't becoming the victims of identity theft and other kinds of forms of
So is this a
theft.
job that just anyone can apply for, or is there people that are applying for it that maybe are activists?
Well, anybody can apply for it. I mean, they are going to have an application process. We just want to make sure that whoever they do consider hiring are not putting the public at risk, and they basically need to work with their law enforcement partners and take their advice and heed their advice in ways, because this is I'm not a physician, okay? I'm not really involved in the healthcare field, but I do know situations where you have a high potential for fraud. This is one of them, and
Because there's a lot of information. There's all
Yeah.
whatever the person would want to use for taking over someone's identity.
Very
is
sens-
all there,
very
right?
sensitive
and
information.
where's the information going to? Their own computers, state computers?
We have-
How will this work?
well, I imagine it'd be computers within the Covered California, and there's probably a sharing of data with the federal government and state affiliates. But I think that what we need to do here is work with them. It hasn't gone online yet. We're hoping, law enforcement is hoping, that by the time that it is ready to go online, that these safety concerns, public safety concerns, have been addressed.
Okay, and so that is an issue, and we've got a couple of minutes left. Now, you want to go back, or do you want to just talk about, why don't we get on a kind of a good thing for a moment or two? And then as the Amador County Fair is coming up, and I believe the DA's office has always had a booth down there.
Ever
And,
since I've been district attorney, yes, we have. We have several grant programs: the insurance fraud program, workers' compensation fraud, auto insurance fraud, elder abuse.
so you use that opportunity for a lot of reach out.
We have an outreach component, and we figured what better way in Amador County to reach out to more people than we possibly could do any other time
Right.
than at the county fair. And our employees will be out there, the people who work in those particular grants, other folks that just enjoy seeing their friends and being there representing the office. And it's been a great experience ever since we've done it. I love manning that booth and talking with members of the public, and I encourage them to come on up and we can chat.
Right, I think you get to chat. Every time I've been there, you got some cool giveaway little things, and everybody when they go to the fair loves to get that stuff. Get your fair stuff. You're down there, so that's one of the great places, and it is a great place to get information because you can discuss.
that's what we're there.
They'll be discussing those various outreach programs.
Disseminate
that are
what we have,
happening,
things that I think would be of interest to them, and it's a good experience, I think, hopefully for everybody.
Okay, well, we're going to go to break, but now we're just going to end. But before we do, I want to invite you back because I think we just touched on this stuff, and I think it's all rolling by the public so fast, and it seems more and more, I don't feel like we have a whole lot of input.
Well, it's a very challenging time right now for law enforcement.
Okay, and we'll see you again next time right here on TSPN's News. Thanks, Todd, for coming by.